Welcome to Inside Sim Racing, and today we are covering the Season 1 2018 build in iRacing, and boy is it a doozy. So let's get to it. Racing simulator provided by Next Level Racing and their new 2-in-1 F1 GT cockpit. Whether you like the upright GT seating position or low-slung F1 seating position, the F1 GT has you covered at a price that won't break the bank. Learn more at nextlevelracing.com. So before we get going, just want to say that this is a pre-release build, so some things are subject to change. So if you see something weird, don't worry about it. So first off, let's go ahead and start off with the new content because there is a ton of it in the Season 1 2018 build. The biggest news of them all, at least in my opinion and many others, is the addition of Rallycross to iRacing. With the addition of Rallycross, there are two cars to choose from, the Volkswagen Beetle and the Ford Fiesta. Now, the Beetle is a free car with your iRacing subscription, so no matter how much content you have, you will be able to go racing Rallycross day one, or if you want the Ford Fiesta, you can go ahead and purchase that. Now, there are some differences in this car, and I did notice some differences while driving it, but for the most part, they're pretty similar, about 600 horsepower and 0 to 60 in 2 seconds, and boy, do they get up to speed fast, and those gears come at you really fast. In terms of driving, they can also be a bit of a handful, especially when you're on a more slick, used-up track. They slide a lot, and you gotta be pretty careful with the handbrake not to lean on it too hard, so this will definitely be a learning curve. But I did enjoy it, and it's one of those things where you just gotta get used to modulating the throttle and really being smooth and just trying to control all that horsepower you got. Now, of course, having cars isn't enough. You also have to have tracks, and there are 5 tracks at the release of Rallycross in Season 1. You have Daytona Rallycross Long, Daytona Rallycross Short. Both of those use the 2007 version of Daytona, which is a free game and track. Then there is Lucas Oil Rallycross, Iowa Rallycross. Both of those you must purchase those tracks, and then those are one of the layouts for those tracks. And then there is Phoenix Rallycross, which, like Daytona, uses the older version of Phoenix that is free to all members. In terms of the layout of the 5 tracks, you get a lot of variety. Now, Daytona Rallycross Short is the only real-world track that is out there that the actual global Rallycross series goes to, and that is a fun little track, and I really do like that layout. Kind of has a good mix of some high-speed and some also low-speed sections, and like pretty much all the tracks you'll see here, you definitely got to be careful how you take the jump. It's very easy to overdo it and smash up your front end. Now, Daytona Rallycross Long just adds a little bit more length to the short track, but it makes it almost a completely different experience, and that is entertaining as well. And it definitely makes you use that handbrake a bit more, and like I mentioned earlier, you definitely got to be really careful how much you use it. Just a little bit goes a long way. Next up is a complete fantasy rallycross track, and that is the rallycross track at Lucas Oil Raceway. And boy, this one is a challenge. Not only do you pretty much run the turn 3 and 4 oval, but backwards. Then you gotta go ahead and pull on the handbrake pretty hard this time and do a really tight 180-degree turn and go back the other direction, going from pavement to dirt. Now, one thing that's really cool is that all the dirt that you're running over and you're kicking up, it gets modeled. The dirt gets moved around, and you will displace dirt to places that didn't have dirt originally. It'll get moved onto pavement, it'll move onto walls, it'll move onto grass. It's all new stuff that iRacing has done in this build, and it's pretty neat to see. Something else that they had to do, obviously, if you're able to displace dirt, and it's really seen here at Lucas Oil Raceway, is if you have dirt on top of pavement, it will displace that dirt, and then all of a sudden you have pavement exposed, and that's going to feel different when you drive over it. So definitely keen to go and check out these tracks when you got a bunch of cars out there that have really worn down the track. Now, Lucas Oil Raceway, I think I had this set to like 85% wear, so this was pretty worn out. And as you see, it is a handful. Once you go over that jump, which I still never figured out, you have some real tight turns to navigate, and again, a lot with the hand brake. The next track is Iowa Speedway and their rallycross course, and again, this is another great variety course, and another one that, again, I also found pretty difficult, and also going to be reaching for that handbrake. Big transitions from pavement to dirt, and a lot of different surfaces, and the car is doing a lot of different things for you. At least the jump here isn't as challenging as it is at the other tracks. But something else interesting of note is Iowa, and the next track we'll be talking about, Phoenix. The Joker lap that they have here, the Joker lap is a lap that you have to take in Global Rallycross, where you go a different, let's say a different part of the track. It's like a shortcut, or it actually takes longer to complete. It just depends on the track layout, and you have to do at least one lap with a Joker lap per feature, heat, etc. So the Joker lap at Iowa actually cuts off a good chunk of the track. So if you're well behind someone and you haven't taken the Joker yet, it will definitely provide an opportunity for you to catch up, and it's kind of neat to see. So with that, let's go ahead and move to the last track in Phoenix, and boy, this might be my favorite of the fantasy tracks. This one is pretty quick, and it has a really nice flow and rhythm to it. I really love how you go up onto the pavement and you turn down sharply into the infield section, and that you're pretty much just sliding the whole time you do that. Then the infield has a really nice flow to it. I like the jump here. I feel like I was having a little bit easier time timing that and landing that right. Again, if it's something you get wrong, I mean, you will tear up your car, and I mean, there's plenty of times where I landed hard and the car was just killed. And then also, just like Iowa, it has a very unique Joker lap that can, really cuts off a fair amount of track. So again, if you haven't taken that, or you have taken that, I think that can really mix things up. So I think Phoenix is a pretty cool track. So there's a wrap up of the 5 tracks that are coming to iRacing Season 1 2018 Rallycross tracks. Again, 3 of them you're going to get for free with your iRacing subscription, and there's a couple other that are tracks that you can pick up and get the Rallycross layouts. But all pretty good fun and pretty well done for tracks that aren't, quote-unquote real-world Rallycross tracks. I think they did a nice job on these fantasy ones, and they make a lot of sense. Let's stay on the dirt side and now transition over to new content on the oval side. And first up, you have the Dirt Midget car, which, boy, this thing is wild. So those of you who don't know, let's talk a little bit about midget cars. They are very small, but very lightweight. They have a 4-cylinder engine that produces between 300 and 400 horsepower, but they only weigh 900 pounds. So they go like hell. Now, they usually race on quarter-mile tracks. Right now, iRacing has a lot of half-mile tracks, including a new one that we'll get to in a second. But hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be seeing more quarter-mile tracks in the future, like the Chili Bowl. That'd be nice to see. But anyway, I drove the midget car at USA, and holy cow, is this thing... First off, first thought, handful. That was my first impression, like, oh my god, how do you drive this thing? But once I got my mind wrapped around the fact that I couldn't put the throttle all the way down going down the straightaway, I mean, no laps I put it all the way down. It'll be interesting to see if some of you really good dirt oval drivers are able to actually accomplish that. But every time I try to put the throttle down, I would lose a wheel. I mean, these midgets just love to ride on, 2-wheel wheelie, more like 3 wheels is really what you get going down the straightaway. But anyway, once I accepted that I couldn't go all the way flat, I really started to have fun with it. You can carry quite a bit of speed into the corner, and I was pretty surprised by this. So I think these are going to be really good fun, and hopefully we'll see more quarter-mile dirt tracks in the future. So there's plenty of tracks to go race these midgets on. But I think, at least for now, there are going to be some tracks where you can go out there and have a good time. And yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing these things race, because yes, they definitely, you drive these things with that right pedal, and you got to be careful. So leaving the midget car that normally run on quarter-mile tracks, let's move up to another half-mile track addition to iRacing on the dirt oval side, and that is the world famous, or at least United States, Midwest famous, Knoxville Raceway. So Knoxville, Iowa, home of the famous Knoxville Nationals that are held every August, with nearly $1 million purse for the winged sprint cars, the 410 sprint cars. Went out and drove it, and yeah, this is really cool to see Knoxville Raceway. I mean, just driving around it, I've seen videos of it, of the National stuff like that, but man, it's such an impressive track for a dirt track. You know, super nice stands, very wide track, and what I really love is that inside berm that it has. I mean, it's really cool to try to get in there and try to get the left side tires right on there, and I think it's going to be really cool when the track wears out with a bunch of cars on there. I think you're going to see guys that are going to be hugging that bottom, trying to stay right on that berm. Then you have guys that can be riding that wall, which I tried a little bit of that, and that is not easy. So I think the best guys are really going to be shining at Knoxville. Okay, so while it's nice to have all this new content, there's also been some updates on the back end to help you guys enjoy this content more. So possibly one of the biggest pieces of news in this new build are the new license classes. So for the entire 9+ years of iRacing's existence, they've had the oval license and the road license. Well, now for season 1 2018, there are 2 new licenses. There is dirt road and dirt oval. So for dirt oval, your starting license class is put together by an algorithm that iRacing's created, and essentially it takes your current oval license class that you've had right now in 2017, and then it does an algorithm with starts you've done on dirt ovals in 2017. So it kind of combines the two and comes up with a number, which I think is probably the best way you can to do that. Now, iRacing hasn't said how the dirt road license is, so it'll be interesting to see if that's just a carryover of the pavement road, but I guess we'll be finding out. Then the other big piece of news that comes with the dirt racing iRacing is now there is hosted heat racing. So just like you see in the real world when it comes to rallycross and when it comes to a lot of the dirt ovals, you'll be able to set up a heat race where you have a practice session, then you have a qualifying session, and you have heat races, and you have consolation races, or I like to call them last chance qualifiers, and then you have a warm up, and then you have a feature race. So a couple of things of note here. In the practice, they've done something pretty interesting. In a practice session, you'll be assigned to a group. So say you have 50 cars that are showing up for this heat racing. There will be groups assigned that might break it down to maybe 5 cars per group or 10 cars per group. We're not quite fully sure yet. And then when you're out there running on track, you will only see people that are in your group and only be able to watch the replay, see their times, etc. Even though there'll be 40 other people out there possibly running on the track, but you won't see them. So that's a nice way to be able to go in a practice session and not have it be a cluster from too many people being out there. Then for qualifying, you have a couple options. You can do it where you just go out there and run one lap by yourself, or you can go and have a group qualifying session where, again, you'll be out there qualifying with other people that are in your group. You can also decide if your top qualifiers will then automatically advance to the feature race, or have them not and just have everyone go to the heat races, where the fastest guys in qualifying will go and be on the pole in the heat races. Next up are those heat races, and you can decide how many races you have. The number of heat races is dependent on the max number of people that you allow in a heat race. So if you have 50 people that sign up for a session and you max it out at 10 cars per heat race, then you'll have 5 heat races. If you have an odd number, then your first heat race will have more cars than some of your latter heat races. So that's how that works, and then you can pick how many advance on to the feature. And then for those people who don't advance on from the heat races, there'll be these consolation races, and there's multiple ways to do this. You can have a single consolation race, you can have multiple consolation race where top finishers from both races go on to the feature, or you can do it where you can stack them, where you go and you have some of your slowest qualifiers go in the first consolation race, and then the top finishers from that go to a second consolation race. But now they have to start towards the bottom because guys that out-qualified them will start towards the top, and so forth and so forth. You can continue this on to the feature race. And the feature race, there isn't a cap on number of cars that can advance to that, so you can go and change that up from the heat races. So a pretty dynamic system that iRacing has over on the hosted side for both rallycross and oval dirt racing. Let's now move away from the dirt side and go to some other improvements to current content in iRacing. And let's talk about the stock cars because they've essentially been overhauled for Season 1. So when it comes to the Monster Energy cars, the Xfinity cars, the trucks, they have been, again, completely overhauled pretty much to 2018 regulations on aero side. So for the Monster Energy cars, they have an overall reduction in downforce and side force. The Xfinity cars have lower downforce and a mild reduction in side force. And then the trucks have seen big changes. Currently they have too much rear downforce, and now they have more front downforce. And there's also been some updates to the National Series as well. And then across the board, there's been some major changes to all the stock cars. New front suspension geometry that improves roll and ride height control. It should really help on short tracks, helping that mid-corner balance, which should make it easier to get off the corner and not have late corner spins. Then there's a sway bar update that more accurately gives you roll stiffness values. Then there's the front shock rebound that has significantly increased on the trucks and Xfinity cars, a mild increase for the Cup cars, but should create more setup options thanks to being able to utilize more of the full shock rebound to tie down the nose of the car. And there's an update to the track bar rake. The range has been opened up to fix issues of right side never being able to be higher than the left side. Then, on the tires. So the tires are more sensitive now to the way you drive them, and you can hurt them. So in your first couple laps, if you're bombing off into the corners and locking them up, or really putting the gas down too early and heating them up, you will damage the tires for the rest of the run, and your times will fall off more. Now, general tire fall off is up significantly, about 1 to 3 seconds on 1.5 mile tracks, according to iRacing. So essentially, take care of your tires. But all of this leads up to iRacing claiming that now the cars will match real-world times much closer. There's also been updates to a lot of the oval tracks to help make the iRacing times closer to the real-world time. So with all that said, I went out and I drove the Monster Energy stock car, and then also drove the truck at Bristol, a stock car at Martinsville, and I have to say, boy, they have never felt this good. I was so blown away by how well the Cup car just hooked up off corners at Martinsville. I mean, it's always been in the past. I mean, you're just pedaling the car, trying to get up off the corner at a place at Martinsville where you have such low-speed corners. And it was zero drama. I was able to go and roll into the corner, roll through the center, and pick up that gas, and no dramas. I mean, the cars have never felt so hooked up in iRacing. So that's a small sample size. Also, the truck at Bristol, that also felt really good. But I hope this translates everywhere else, and it sounds like it should, because that felt really good, and that's going to make the racing much better in Season 1. Also, on the NASCAR side, the top 3 series are getting fully animated pit crews, and we've seen some previews for it. I checked it out myself, and boy, it really does look nice. So a very nice job done there, and hopefully we'll see more animated pit crews showing up on other types of disciplines. And to finish it off here, let's hit on a couple other updates coming to iRacing in Season 1. There is a new water shader that's at Daytona 2007 that actually reacts to wind and lighting, and it looks good. And iRacing says that this new water shader is going to be making its way to other tracks in the future, but definitely looks like a good start at Daytona, and it was cool to see how the wind affects it. There's also an update to the corner cutting time penalties. So currently, you pretty much get the same amount of time applied for cutting a corner no matter what car you're driving. Now it's going to be dependent on how fast the car is. So I went to Watkins Glen, and I cut the bus stop in the Indy car and then in the Miata. And the time penalty I got in the Indy car wasn't as severe as the Miata because the Indy car goes flying through the bus stop. So you're not really gaining as much time cutting it as you are in the Miata, which you have to slow down quite a bit more. So that is a nice little update. It wasn't a major difference, but it's still nice to see, and that should make things a bit more fair across all the classes. So that will do it for our Season 1 2018 iRacing primer, getting you ready for the season. I know that wasn't everything, but those are pretty much the major updates coming in Season 1, and boy, there's a lot of big updates here. Obviously, Season 4 wasn't the biggest, and now they've all been saved up for Season 1, and a lot of stuff here, especially on the oval side and especially on the dirt side, and a lot of new features. So a lot to look forward to this season, and I'm sure a lot of you guys will be checking out the new content. So as always, thank you for watching Inside Sim Racing. If you enjoyed this video, please give a like, subscribe to our channel, check out our website, isrtv.com, and help us out by checking out the Amazon affiliate links in the description below. So as always, thank you for watching Inside Sim Racing, and please take care of you and yours.